Now then, everyone, Chris here at All Leeds TV. Hope you're well. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. It's been a long break. It took complete time away from being on air, which was nice. With that, we are. So we're here to react to Leeds 1, Man City 3. I don't know. I don't know what to think because, let's be honest. Even the most positive of us, which I generally don't tend to be anyway, do I? Let's all be honest here. Probably didn't expect much tonight, and expected us to be on a bit of a battering. Could have been a battering if Melee hadn't a good game. He didn't make any extraordinary saves, did he? But he made good saves. Put himself in the right positions at times. But we can whinge about Jesse's tactics and system and all the rest of it, but until we buy some defenders who can defend, then we're absolutely flogging a dead horse. Now, don't get me wrong, we're playing against Man City, who've got an extraordinary team, extraordinary front line led by Haaland with De Bruyne pulling the strings. So, they're an exceptional team, but our central defenders aren't good enough. We've all carried on about wanting strikers and all the rest of it, but if we don't get out and buy a couple of central defenders and a left back, because then we can move Pascal, which we've been saying for what feels like months. We can move Pascal into left centre back. Then there's going to be more of these from the good teams. We go in 1-0 at half time. Not unluckily, because City had chances. Luckily, Grealish had a pitching wedge for a right foot, didn't he? But we were pretty resolute in that first half. I thought the system was the right system. But Cooper and Koch at the back. Cooper was just letting Haaland run off him all the time. And then, second half kicks off, and then Cooper plays a ball which he should never play to Robin Koch. You should just sometimes you just got to get rid. Don't prat about with it when there's players climbing all over you. But Robin Koch stood ball watching. He just stands there, and Grealish just runs and collects the ball, and obviously puts Haaland in for the goal. We've just got to sort that defence out. We've got to sort that defence out. And generally, let's be honest, when we look at money and how much it takes to build a team, probably your cheapest area to recruit into is defence. So let's buy some defenders who can defend. I mean, good to see Llorente come on second half, said no one ever. But for me, the only defender for me who is at the right level, central defender who's at the right level, who's at the club at the minute, is Pascal, and he doesn't play there. I thought he had an okay game, Pascal. Obviously, good goal, good header. I thought Willy Gnonto was a positive tonight. I really did. He looked bright. The midfield, especially in the first half, I mean, Rocker and Greenwood couldn't pass a football between them. So when you're under the cosh constantly from a team like Man City and you get a chance to, get rid or get on the break and get up the other end of the pitch and give the defence a rest, and they're just making silly decisions and playing poor balls. It's not good enough. And I'm not asking the world of players here. I'm asking them to make a pass to one of their own teammates. So I'm not too downbeat because I expected us to get beat tonight, but we can still see areas that need improving. And the window opens in a couple of days. We've all seen, is it Voba, linked from Salzburg, who's a captain, centre back, left back. I think he's played more left back in recent times, from what I saw on Joe's stream the other day when he was going through his stats and everything. If he's decent at left back, then great, because that means we can move Pascal in centrally. But we've got to improve that defence. You can whinge about tactics and everything else. But if you've got defenders who can't defend, what's the point? Let me get to your super chat now, Sean, before I miss it, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat, pal. Yeah. I completely understand where you're coming from, mate, with that. City are a tough team, man. They're unbelievable, aren't they? Let's not pull punches here. I agree with Jamie as well in the comments that Tyler would have made a big difference tonight, not Roberts, Adams. He really would. Just for that calmness in the midfield and getting into people a little bit. But so let me just hide that. Thanks for that, Sean. Appreciate the super chat, pal. But you know, if Rads through water don't go out and bring in at least a couple of decent defenders this window, I'm going to use the word again, which I've used before about our transfer windows. It's negligence. It's negligence, and I've backed players like Coops as well to the fore in the past, but and Liam's been a good club captain, but if he wants to do the best for the club, I think he needs to be honest and say, do you know what? And I'm not saying get rid of Liam Cooper, but he needs to be speaking up and saying, look, it's a level above is this for me. And he's not the only one. Llorente, not good enough. Robin Koch, not good enough. Let's be honest. Just because he's probably looked the better of our central defenders at times this season, he's not been good enough either. So yeah, I mean, Rodrigo was running all over the shop tonight, but he couldn't get anywhere near the ball. I thought our best attacking threat was Willie Gnonto. He was the real positive for me tonight. He's got that something about him, and Willie Gnonto. I did, as much as he was doing it to play to the crowd, which they said on commentary, I did like him getting stuck into Grealish, who is a complete pumper, let's be honest. I mean, I thought the Gelded Road sniper was on top of the stand or something with the amount of falling over that was going on. We've got to be more clinical in defence, because tonight for me it wasn't about we were tactically wrong. You could tell what we've been working on. You could tell what we were trying to do. I thought tactically it was okay tonight. Jesse gets a lot of stick for his tactics at times, but I thought tonight he got it right. But you can't compensate for two Muppets in the central of defence just doing Muppet things. It's just not good enough. It's not Premier League standard. In the Championship, you get away with some of those mistakes. You get away with them. You don't get away with them in the Premier League, and you certainly don't get away with them against a team like Manchester City, who just tear you to shreds. Nice of Haaland to stop trying after he got a couple and not go for his hat trick. So I appreciate that, Erling. Nice of you not to over celebrate as well. Just a nice touch. People have got opinions on that, but he's always said he likes Leeds United. He's a fan of Leeds United, so it was nice just to that little bit of respect. But yeah, just my big takeaway from tonight is, and it hasn't come as a shock, but is the defense isn't good enough, because we can all sit there and watch great goals from Man City, and sometimes you've got to sit back and say, there's no you can do against that. It's unbelievable. But a couple of those goals weren't that. A couple of those goals were poor defensively. Really poor. Yeah, but Dan, Muppets isn't harsh when they're doing Muppety things, which that second goal was. You can play against world-class players, but you can still do the basics, mate, and getting rid of the ball and not playing a slightly underhit pass to your centre-back partner who stood ball watching with his thumb up his backside. Just not good enough. Mark Harrison, defo going, didn't get minutes tonight. I don't think he's fit. However, you could be correct, mate. And to be honest with you, if it frees up a bit of the wage structure, etc., then and we get decent money, I'm not going to be. I wouldn't be overly upset with that. I like Jack. I'm a fan of Jack Harrison, but we've got to watch the wage structure, the wage bill, and if it allows us to bring in a bit more quality in other areas, because I think between Willie and Chris Somerville, we've got decent down. We're decent down that left hand side. So yeah, I don't want to see Jack go, but I wouldn't be overly upset if it's for decent money and it brought someone else in. But I'm pretty sure he's not 100% fit, mate, either. So it might just be that. So you might be reading too much into it, but never say never. Yeah, Oliver, we're acting like it's a shock. I'm not acting like it's a shock, mate. I said 3-0. I think I said 3-0 before kick-off to City. So 3-1, we got a goal. But I think it's just the manner of the couple of goals, just especially the second one. It's just again, creators of our own downfall. And if we hadn't seen that this season before of us making silly mistakes, we'd laugh it off and go, it's Man City. It's one of those games, strike it off. But we're constantly seeing mistakes from the centre backs, and that's the one area more than anywhere on the pitch you can't make silly mistakes. You just can't do it. And we do it all the time. If isn't Llorente nutmegging himself, it's Coops switching off, or it's Robin Cox switching off. Yeah, it's, you know what I mean? Just do the basics right is what I want from my central defenders, and they can't do it half the time. Thanks for this, Lee. Hope you had a good Christmas too, pal. Yeah, he didn't celebrate. I don't know. I saw Calvin warming up and laughing, so I don't know if he was getting a bit of stick for being overweight or whatever. But I'm surprised Pep didn't bring him on, to be honest with you, just to shit houses a little bit. But yeah, it is what it is. This is a good question, D. This is a good question. Now, I think Harrison brings a lot of positives to the game. I think he's a bit lightweight. I think he needs to get a bit stronger. Oh, Oliver, okay, sorry, I've seen your comment. You meant with the Coop Hospital passes. Got you, mate. Apologies. Yeah, no shot there either. I do think he's worth the 25 million we spent. I think he needs to add more around the goal, so he needs to get more assists. I know he gets a lot of hockey assists, assists for the assist type stuff, but I think he needs to give us a bit more in front of goal. But I rate Aronson, mate. I do. I think he's a decent player. This, I agree with John. I thought he was poor tonight. There was one, and I think it still in the first half. And he could have played a simple ball to Greenwood out, and we could have broke away. I'm not saying anything comes of it, but we could have broke away and kept the ball. But he just humped it forward with his right foot back to their centre back, and City just came again. And then seconds later, Rodri scored. So yeah, I thought it was poor tonight, and I rate Rocker, but I think he missed Adams next to him. Rocker does not suit being the enforcer at all, whereas Tyler revels in it, doesn't he? So yeah, I agree, mate, which is why I wouldn't be overly upset if he went. Like I say, I do like Jack, but he does blow hot and cold, doesn't he? He always has done, and I think he always will do. So, if a Newcastle or someone come and knocking again, which I don't think they will, I think Newcastle are probably looking bigger than that with where they sit in the table. But I wouldn't cry myself to sleep, mate, if he did go. Yeah, I mean, it could have been, couldn't it? It could have. I mean, people say that, we'll get all Roy Keane on it and go, that's his job. But he did do a good job tonight, Meslier. I actually saw someone on Twitter, genuinely, I think, when the third goal went in and he got a hand to it but couldn't keep it out, say, we need a new keeper, Mellier's poor. I'm like, either it's satire and they're taking the mick, or someone needs to pull their head out the backside. I mean, I've got criticisms from Meslier at times in other areas with his distribution and stuff like that, but as a shot-stopping keeper, I think he's fantastic. And he's only 22. He's going to get better and better and better. Yeah, and I think everyone's probably, as much as people are disappointing me, I think we're all probably blowing a little bit of a sigh of relief on that as well. That, what this game shouldn't do is dent the lads' confidence too much. They're not going into training in the next couple of days having been thumped 7, which we've been by City before. Do you know what I mean? So I saw positive, a few positives with the system tonight. I don't know whether it's because it's just a Man City, and I thought it suited us with their style, maybe, and maybe Jesse's got to be more malleable with the systems he plays, because I'm still worried about that crossfield ball leaving their wingers in acres of space. I mean, luckily tonight, Grealish, the first thing he wants to do is come inside because he's right-footed, so it allowed Christensen to close the space quite quickly. I think in the last 3 January windows, we spent £1 million. I think I saw that on Joe's stream as well. I mean, come on. Yeah, that's what I've been saying, Dave. When you get the ball against a team like City, you've got to try and keep the ball for a little bit. And even if you don't make anything of it, you've got to give the defence and the low block midfielders that time. The low block midfielders that time, to reset and take a bloody breath. But we didn't. We were just giving it straight back to them at times. These plus a couple of others, Chris. I don't know about moving them all on. Forshaw and Click, I agree with. Thought Forshaw was okay tonight. He never does anything spectacular, Forsh, but I thought out the 3 midfielders, certainly in the first half, he was the best of them. It's probably not a high bar, but yeah, again, if we're talking about making room in the squad and, with the wage bill and stuff, then yeah, I would keep Cooper around. I certainly wouldn't be starting him. I'd be giving the armband to Tyler Adams on the pitch. Coops, happy for him to stay club captain and be around and be cover. But Pascal should be the left centre back for me moving forward, or we bring another in. I don't think I expect to lose most games, Nigel. I expect to lose quite a few, mate, and I expected to lose tonight against a Man City team that are superb. And if they'd have been more clinical tonight, it would have been a cricket score, wouldn't it? I'm not sure the team's gone backwards. I think I know what you're getting at, mate. I don't think we've gone backwards, but we've got to strengthen the defence. I completely agree with that point, mate. It's what I've been saying. Nah, mate, come on. As much as tactics and the manager says what you've got to do, you've got to play the game that's in front of you. You can't throw everything at Jesse. For that second goal, Cooper's got to realise that Man City are pressing and just get rid of the ball. Never mind, Jesse says we've got to play out from the back. Nah, there's times when you put your foot through it and get rid, and you play to what's on the pitch. I'm not having that, mate. That's easy to point the finger at the manager, mate. I'm sorry. Players have got to make decisions on the pitch. They're all big boys. They're all paid a lot of money. And yeah, Cooper's got to just get rid. Yeah, again, thanks again, Sean, for another super chat, mate. It's much appreciated. And yeah, I agree. Because Ellen Road would have erupted at that point. And then you don't know, do you? There's only one goal in it, and we'd have thrown everything at it. But yeah, it's all ifs and buts, isn't it, mate? We do need to be more clinical up front as well. We didn't have many chances tonight, so I'm not sort of pointing the finger at that tonight, but I think generally we need to be more clinical. Rodrigo's been pretty clinical this season in front of goal, as much as he's got gaping wounds elsewhere in his game. But yeah. No, I agree, Robbie. I agree. I thought he was dreadful tonight. Let's get into this, Chris. Yeah, let's get into this, because when that was announced that Llorente had been given a new contract till 2027, his retirement contract, I genuinely could have fallen off the chair I was sat on. We'd had the positive news that Pascal had signed on. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then they follow it up with, and Diego's staying. And everyone's like, what? It's just... And this is what worries me about the transfer window, giving someone like Llorente a new contract. I'd have genuinely been looking to shift him on. I would. I think he's awful. But we've given him what is it, 4.5 years? Is that right? Am I counting right? Something like that, innit? It's just an insane decision for me. Is that, and that's the thing. That finger needs to be pointed at Jesse and the board for that decision, because Jesse's clearly must have said he wants to keep him, and the board have gone, all right, then we'll give him till 2027, which takes him to, I think, 33, something like that. He's crap now. So what's he going to be like at 33? I hope he's a late bloomer. Good God. Because he won't be on cheap wages either, will he? Diego Llorente. I'm keeping scrolling, gang. Keep your comments coming in. We've not talked about the game much, but I don't think there's overly that much to talk about, is there? Defence were crap. Willie Gnonto looked okay, pretty good. Rated him. Didn't have much going the other way. Good header from Pascal. Great delivery from Sam Greenwood for the corner. I thought Sam Greenwood showed some good things, but I thought his passing in the first half was pretty dreadful as well. Which is what Michael said. I think, yeah, I think there is a case for that, mate. I think there's still a case that he's potentially still an impact player. You know, you could start Cree, Somerville, and if he's not having a good game because he's only young, do you know what I mean? He's not gonna burst into life every game like he did before the World Cup, you know, where he's scoring goals. He will have quiet games, Will Cree. He's a young lad still learning his trade. Then you've got the perfect foil for bringing Willie on, or vice versa, right? So I think we've got good options on that side. I like those two. I've been a critic of Cree Somerville in the past. I didn't think he'd show much, and then all of a sudden, the last few months before the World Cup, or the last couple of months before the World Cup started, I thought, well, he's been superb, hasn't he? And I know he wasn't fully fit tonight. Otherwise, I think Cree would have probably started maybe over Willie. So, but we've got good options there. Good options there. Yeah, I think everyone's saying the same, Steve. You know, people have been saying, you know, Rads doesn't want to spend his money now with the takeover looming, which is, again, I always say it, it's the longest non-hostile takeover I've ever known. It's just ridiculous. But at the end of the day, Rads has got to play a very careful game here, because if this club go down, his investment's in absolute tatters. Because the club ain't worth what he thinks it's worth now. If we end up back in the Championship, absolutely no hope. We'll have to sell all our assets, and we'll basically be playing a 23s team in the Championship the season after, because most of the, and probably the ones left over from the last Championship season, you know, but players like Pascal and Willie Gnonto and Aronson and Adams, and well, you keep reeling them up, they'll be gone. They'll be gone in a heartbeat, you know. These are young lads with big ambitions, and they're not going to stay around to play in the Championship. Yeah, I thought Gelhardt brought a bit to the game. It's a tough one whether he should start, because you can't question Rodrigo's numbers in front of goal this season so far. So it's a tough one. So I can understand both sides of the argument, basically, mate. I really can. But I guess the argument you're making is, if we don't get anywhere near the goal, it don't matter how on form Rodrigo is shooting wise, does it? And Gelhardt did offer more sort of, you know, pressing and getting into him. So I can understand what you're saying, mate. I can. I just think he'll stick with Rodrigo. However, we've only got 2.5 days, haven't we? And then we're back at it. So maybe he will switch it out and play Joffrey there. Yeah, and I said this, William, because there will be people who aim it at Jesse. Of course, there will. And sometimes he's taken flack this season, and quite rightly. But for me, you can't. You've sometimes got to sit back and go, my God, they're effing brilliant, which City are. And also, tactics don't compensate for lunatics doing lunatic type things like that second goal with our central defenders. Correct. But you know what we're becoming in the transfer market, right? Is we tried. We might as well be renamed to we tried United. You know, Liverpool got Gakpo. I'm now. Don't get me wrong. We're never going to sign Gakpo, right? And we certainly weren't going to sign him in this window because his price had gone. You know, although they've only got, I think, 37 million, something like that, raising to 50. But it always seems like we're trying, or we're considering a bid, or we're putting a bid together. Whereas, like, and I know financially we're in different areas, but it's the way about going about business that confuses me. Just go, just go and get it done. Go and make the bid. Don't sit for 3 or 4 days a week considering a bid, putting a bid together. Pick up the blower, ring your counterpart at the other club and go, we'll offer you this much. Are you in? And then go from there. But it always seems that we absolutely faff around while other teams make moves. Do you know what I mean? And it frustrates me. And then, you know, you get our wondrous leader, Rad's coming out and making tweets like he does, which, God, I wish he'd stop it. Put down the Pinot, my good man. Put down the Pinot. What have we got here? I don't think anyone's happy, Ben. I don't think fans are happy losing 3-1. I think fans are just realistic that it could have been a lot worse. So I don't think anyone's happy, mate. I think that's... and you've also got to understand, mate, you say mindset's got to change. You've got to understand we're not the Leeds United of, you know, the 60s and 70s or the early noughties under O'Leary. We're not that club at the minute, mate. Mindset is all very well and good, but you've got to have the gear to back it up, and we haven't got the gear to back it up. So we can go out and say we want to win every game. Of course, we want to win every game, but we certainly shouldn't be expecting to win every game, and we're definitely not going to win every game. Everyone bangs on about mindset in different things, but you haven't got the tools to back it up. Mindset's just that, it's just in there. And currently, certainly defensively, we haven't got the tools to back it up. We don't. And it's been like that all season. It was like that last season as well. Defensive blunders consistently. Yeah, I don't think there's much issue with the front line. I think, and obviously from Tyler Adams in there as well. Yeah, we still, if we're in Dreamland, we need another striker, but I don't think that'll happen. But for me, the priority is defence. It really is. Yeah, I agree, Luke. I think there's a player there. I really do. I'm just scrolling, guys. Yeah, I agree, Gary. The club's gone stale, hasn't it? And as I always say, for those that watch regularly, you know, if you stand still in football, you're going backwards. And we've stood still with this squad. We should have made more changes than we did in season one. You know, in COVID season, and we had a good season. We had a great season. We finished in 9th, but there still should have been more moves being made because, I mean, even in that season, at times it was clearly obvious that some of those players you mentioned and others, Cooper, etc., aren't at the level they need to be. But we didn't, and then we sat on them, bringing a couple of players, sat on them. Whereas, yes, you can't change a whole squad at once. We're seeing that with Nottingham Forest at the minute. You can't change a whole squad at once. It's got to be a process. But it just feels like we've not moved quick enough for me, yeah, mate, he definitely needs to put the Pinot down, doesn't he? Just put the Pinot down, lad. Just put the Pinot down. I'm just still scrolling because I think a few of you are having a conversation between yourselves as well. So I don't want to jump in the middle of that. Yeah, but I don't think. Of course, it matters. I was going to say I don't think it only matters. Of course, it matters. Newcastle's a tough one. I think, if I'm being realistic, I'd be surprised if we get anything against Newcastle. I would like us to beat West Ham. We'll see. But yeah, it's going to be another tough season. It's going to be another tough season, and I'll say it now: if we don't improve that defence in the January transfer window, we're in massive danger of going down. Now, there'll be the optimists out there that'll say, "Oh, get behind the team, usual sketch." I'm always behind this team, but I'm realistic, and I can see, where the issues are. And one massive issue that we have is that defence. I think Christensen's warmed into the role on the right hand side. I think he's okay there. Pascal's done okay at left back, but shouldn't be playing left back. He should be at left centre back, and we should have a proper left back, which we haven't got, because even when old Firpo is fit, he's not a proper left back either. And I don't mean it's because he's got a different position on the pitch. He's just not a proper footballer. So we've got to improve that defence. Or now I think Forest will go down. I think Saints will go down. Then I think it's between a cluster of teams with us in it to go down in that 18th spot. And if we don't improve that defence in January, for me, we're bang in danger. We're bang in danger. You can't leak the amount of goals we do through defensive cock-ups that we do and not be in real danger of going down. So it's dangerous times, but Rads is gambling. I'm not sure why you're quite having a pop at D about that, Dan, because we were crap defensively under Bielsa as well. Oh, you're on about points-wise. Yeah, but that doesn't make any difference. We were crap last season under Bielsa. We were getting thumped. And defensively, we're not good enough again this season. So, I mean, do we bring in a third manager and then go, oh, look, we're still crap in defence? And we, fingers of blame are pointed at the manager from the board again. Give him the tools to do his job, man. Give him the tools. And the tools needed are some fucking defenders that can defend, excuse my French. Because at the minute, we've got defenders who, I don't know, like Bambi on ice. Yeah, I don't know if that's because Liam isn't 100% fit or because Jesse had enough of him. But, I mean, when you're replacing him with Diego Llorente, you're just like, oh, God, it's like out of the frying pan and into the fire, isn't it? Just dreadful. But maybe times are changing, Steve. Maybe. Let's be optimistic about it, mate. Let's be optimistic about it. I'm keeping scrolling. PRM, I've seen your super chat, mate. I will get, in fact, let's get to you now, mate. Do we keep the same formation of 4-3-3, 4-3-2-1? Do you know what? I think we get hung up, and managers seem to get hung up on we're a 4-3-3 team, etc., etc. You've got to twist and shake, haven't you, to what you're playing sometimes. And like for me tonight, when in the first half we can see the midfield having an issue, drop to a 4-4-2 or even a 4-5-1 and give them a bit of help in there. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer, mate, really, to be honest with you. I'm no tactician. I'm just a fan who's on the outside looking in. But I appreciate the super chat, pal. Thank you very much. It is much appreciated. I hope you had a good Christmas and all that jazz. There you go. You never wanted Bielsa out. Never mind. Well, let's put into context tonight was expected. The games against Leicester, Palace, etc. were all winnable, and we put in dross performances. Correct. 100% agree, mate. And that's where my concern comes from. That in this league, the first thing you've got to do is beat the teams around you. And in season one, under the previous manager, that's what we did really well. Really, really well. We beat the teams around us, sometimes really convincingly, didn't we? Burnley, teams like that. And this season we haven't done it, and last season we didn't do it. I remember after the first 2 or 3 games of last season thinking, oh no, we're sort of banging trouble. It was after maybe the Everton game, so it was second game of the season, first home game. I was like, this doesn't look great. So yeah, I completely agree, mate, and that's my worry. Do you know what, mate? It's worth a shot. I think Tyler Adams proved in the World Cup he can play that role, as well as Calvin played it for us when he was with us. Let's try something different. I'm all up for trying something different, mate. Certainly against, again, probably the teams around us, where we should have a bit more license to get forward a bit more, etc. I'd be all up for that single pivot with Tyler Adams in there. So I think that's a good shout, pal. I do. I'm going to keep scrolling. Yeah, no, and there is that, John. I completely agree, mate. I mean, I do think it'd be hard to sell. I really do think it'd be hard to sell. And I don't want to loan any more players out because we've got to start clearing the squad out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? We've already got a ton of players out on loan that we probably can't shift for anywhere near the money that we. I'm thinking Dan James. Do you know what I mean? So maybe, I mean, he's not going to go in January. We know that, but I would like to see him gone at the end of the season. I really would. I think, did they say on commentary tonight that we'd lost 11 points from winning positions this season? Again, that's relegation fodder, is that? That's relegation fodder. Relegation fodder, is that? It's not good. We've got to sort that defence out. Completely agree, Lee. Yeah. Completely need a backbone. I can answer this really quick, Nigel. No, I don't. I don't think we'll see massive expenditure. We've seen Voba linked. I think initially 13 million euros or something like that. I don't think we'll do much more. If I'm being honest, mate, I don't. Unless we can ship some players out, but who? Someone said earlier maybe a Jack Harrison or someone like that, but I don't think we'll do massive business. I think they'll bring Voba in and go, that'll be enough to keep us up, because I think that's how completely blind to the situation they are. You know, Rads is a businessman, Angus Kinnear's a businessman of sorts, you know, Victor's Victor. And I think Rads plays the risk versus reward game. And, you know, he got away with it last season, and he might not get away with it this season. If we go down, his whole plan's shot. It's shot to shit because the club's not worth a pittance of what it's worth now. So, to answer your question, mate, no, I don't. But, you know, I'll remain optimistic until deadline day. I want to sit there watching the yellow ticker go along on Sky Sports going, oh, we're doing no business, you know. Don't go to bed yet, Leeds fans. You know, we're not done type thing from Digital Wilson. And then, you know, we've sold Yonto for £4 or something like that last minute. You know, typical Leeds type stuff. But he said he's not going anywhere, Annie. But I think he will go when the 49ers take control, because I think the 49ers will strip the boardroom out and bring their own people in. Whether those people will be any good, we will have to wait and see. But yep. I do think we'll get Voba. I think that'll be done. But what I don't want is that to be all we do. But I think it will be. So, yeah. That's it, innit? Ball watching centre backs. They do. Like, the amount of times, and don't get me wrong, Haaland's movement is superb, and he'll do it. He does it to a lot of defenders, and he'll do it to a lot more this season. But Cooper just like completely losing him time after time after time. And then you've got Robin Koch ball watching when Cooper plays the hospital pass across the face to him, and it's just basics, right? It's just basics, and that's what annoys me. I genuinely thought, Philip, that it would have been done over the World Cup, but I think I know they're saying 2024 now. Now, I personally think it'll be done in the summer. Whether we'll still be a Premier League club at that point, I don't know. I'm just trying to catch up with your comments, gang. Over 300 of you in the watching at the minute, which is great at this time on a night. We love a good therapy session, don't we? So please hit that like button, everyone. It does help the channel massively. Also, if you're new here, which I've seen a few names which I don't recognise, please hit that subscribe button as well. What you get from us on here is brutal honesty. You might not always like it, but we are honest. We have some good debates at times. No, I agree, mate. You know, we can talk about, you know, keeping it as a business and, you know, taking the club forward in the right way and not doing a Ridsdale, but there's got to be a bit of balance as well to where you've got to spend some money, right? You've got to spend some money at the minute. Certainly in January, we don't. And yeah, I think we were net zero or near damn it, won't we? In the summer for spends, which again, and I think the signings we brought in are good ones. I think there just should have been more of them. We're a very poor squad team, still same as last year. Not much has changed apart from we've not took a real hiding this season so far. I can't disagree, Jamie. I can't. And again, I'm not too downbeat about tonight. I'm annoyed at certain things, like I've said, like our central defenders, but I'm not too downbeat about it. But what concerns me more is some of the other performances we've put in this season against the so-called, you know, lesser teams. That's what really worries me. It's just being a Leeds fan, isn't it? It's just a constant kick in the nuts. You know, as much as I wasn't big on the World Cup, the break was bleeding nice. Just not to be, you know, sat with my head in my hands watching Leeds week in, week out. Still scrolling. I do, mate. I'll always miss it, mate, because I thought it was just better as a fan. It was more of a buzz. So, you know, I want the club in the Premier League, obviously for the club's sake, and to watch good players and all the rest of it. Of course I do. I'm a Leeds United fan and I want the club to be doing well. But from a fan's point of view, I do miss those days. Even the League One days, you know, you had the hardcore base of fans. We travelled heavily, which we always do, even in the Premier League, but we travelled heavily to some real holes, you know, and had a right good time. And Ellen Road used to have 24,000 and less in it, you know, on a rainy Tuesday night, playing Reading or whatever, but it was quality. Yeah, I do miss it, mate. I do. Like I say, just from the fans' point of view, and I always will. And well, I might have to miss it for too much longer, eh? There's a lot of this, D. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of people thinking this, mate. And, you know, I've not heard great things from 49ers fans either about the company that own them or the consortium that own them or whatever they are. I've not heard great things. I know they obviously did a lot of work on the Levi Stadium, and I do think they'll regenerate Ellen Road when they take over because it's all about the franchise and the brand for them. I'm just not sure they'll do the same with the playing squad. I don't know, but yeah, trust is an issue. I think Leeds fans have got a right to be wary of new owners after the absolute showers we've had coming over the last, you know, couple of decades. And I'm not pointing the finger at Rads with that, because I think Rads has done a good enough job to get us from where we were when he bought us from Chelino to where we are now. I will call him out because I think he's being tight-fisted, and we need to do more in the transfer market. But as a general job, when you look at it in a big picture, I think he's done a good job. And I know he said in the press the other day, you know, change is good, and it needs someone with more basically cash in the pocket to take Leeds on to the next step. So let's do it. And like you say, if the 49ers aren't up for it, or whatever's going on behind the scenes, there's got to be someone out there who wants to buy a club like Leeds United. I've never understood why there's never been a huge money backer come in to buy us, with tens of billions of pounds. Because I've never understood it, because it's a club ripe for that type of owner. So yeah, yeah, we always say, don't it? It is the hope that kills us. That's what I've been saying, Eric. I don't know if you're having a slight dip at me. Just call it what it is. That's what I've just been saying, mate. Or whether you're just talking generally, you may be. We are definitely in a relegation battle. Absolutely no worries about that. Yeah, subs bench for Coops. Completely agree. And do you know what? This is where does Coops doubt himself in the Premier League? Because in the Championship, I thought he was vocal. I thought you could hear Coops, you could see Coops giving it some to the players. Does he just realise he's out of his depth here, and it shot him in the foot, and he's just withdrawn into himself? Who knows? But yeah, he's not. Maybe he's not even a captain he once was. Do you know what I mean? Just scrolling through. Man City used to be rubbish. Yeah, and then the oil money come racing in AN, and that's not a dip. I know people like to, sling shit at City and Newcastle for, oil money, and they fling all the human rights stuff at them and all the rest of it. And I'll be honest, if someone wants to come in and buy my football club, I would be very much like let's all be honest here. I'd be very much like the City fans and the Newcastle fans, and I'd turn a blind eye to whatever dodgy past they've got or whatever it may be, because I want to see my football club succeed. And some people might think I'm wrong in that, but it is what it is, right? Yeah, I don't think anyone wants mental money spent, mate. I think people just want to see some money spent and us strengthen the areas that need strengthening. I think it's more than that, Martin. I think we need another centre back as well. I do. I really do. Even with Pascal moving into centre back, if we brought a left back in, I still think we need another centre back as well. And yeah, if we can ship, Forsh and Click out, then yeah, another central midfielder as well. Probably another enforcer type midfielder, a la Tyler Adams, another one of those. Yeah, and I said this to Joe last night, and I think it was last night or maybe the night before. I said this to Joe on his stream last night. I made a comment on it saying that statement of Radz's screams, "I'm not going to put my hand in my pocket too much." So I agree with you, mate. I do. Samuel, I've only just spotted this one, mate. Thank you very much for your super chat, pal. Hope you had a good Christmas. Yeah, and like you say, there's a couple of big games now with Newcastle and West Ham, and if we can pull anything out of them, do you know what I mean? And if we came away with and I might sound like a complete dreamer here, 4 points, 3 points, 4 points from them, we'd be like, oh, okay. That's how quick football changes, right? That's why we all get so wound up with it. Because one week you're like flying and thinking, yeah, strike up the band, we're going to Europe. The next week you're like, oh my God, we're going down, we're awful. And that's just the joy, I think, of supporting a team that's in the position we are in the league. But yeah, at least it wasn't 7-0. That was a tragic night, that one at the Etihad. God, they absolutely pummeled us. And I don't mean pummeled us like they did tonight, where they had more chances. That 7-0 could have been far more than 7. Oh, God. People are still banging that Ailing drum, aren't they? Like yourself, Chris. And I mean, it's all opinions, mate. And your opinion differs to mine. I think Ailing looks all right when he comes off the bench for a bit, but even tonight there was a couple of times where he could have just cleared the ball and he starts prattling about with it, and it gets nicked off him. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Christensen's the finished article by any stretch, but Luke's not good enough for me, mate. He just isn't. And again, it's a matter of opinion. I'm not saying I want him gone. I think he's good off the bench. He's a good understudy to have, but he won't be first choice for me. But hey, that's just me. That's why I'm not a football manager, maybe. Yeah. No, I don't think people expect us to spend 50 million on a player, Mark. I think people just expect us to spend money on a player, some money on a player, just any money on a player. You know, maybe some money on 2 or 3 players. That'd be lovely. If you could bring in 2 or 3, and again, defense needs strengthening, and defense tends to be the cheapest place to strengthen within a football team, right? There's areas of the pitch. The higher up you go, the more expensive it goes. Obviously, when you're paying for goal scorers, then you're paying premiums, especially in January. But you know, we could potentially spend 50 million in January and bring in 2, maybe 3 defensive type players. Now, they're not going to be world class players, but we're not in the business of buying world class players at the minute. We're not, you might get the odd gem who appears, but we want solid players who are a step up on what we've got now. And what we've got now, especially in defence in those central areas, are championship level players, in my opinion. So, no, I don't expect to spend 50 million on one player. That's why as soon as Gakpo had a good World Cup, you're like, well, he's out of our price range now. If he'd had a shocking World Cup, then we might have seen him coming, but he didn't. And then Liverpool went, oh, we'll have a bit of that and we'll throw some cash at it. And we're not competing with the likes of, we can't compete with the likes of Liverpool and stuff like that. It's a fact of life, isn't it, mate? I'm going to give it 5 more minutes, gang, because it's late and I've got work in the morning. And although I probably won't sleep much, I never sleep after a Leeds game. Yeah, this is a good point, Steve. It is a good point. We have got certainly no pace apart from players like Willie and Cree. Yeah, we do struggle with pace. Certainly at the back, like you're on about, mate, with that defensive unit. We've got no one. Just once they break the line on us, that's it. They're gone, aren't they? We've got no one who can make that up. I think the last player we had like that who could was probably Ben White, but Ben was so good with his sort of how he played the game and his awareness that he was rarely needed to sort of trap back heavily. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, mate. We've got absolutely no pace at the back. Llorente being the worst of him when you watch him run. Llorente looks like he's running in treacle. Yeah, remember, like if you're at school in PE or whatever, and you were doing something you didn't like, like athletics in the summer, you'd look like you were trying hard, but you weren't. Llorente looks like he's trying to run fast, but can't. He's oh my god, but it's all right because he's got another 4.5 years out of us, so we'll be seeing plenty of it. Llorente running around Ellen Road looking like it's a treacle pitch. Yeah, I said that at the top of the stream, mate. I thought Willie was good tonight. He was the one positive out of it for me. Mate, I think you're getting the wrong idea of what some fans are expecting. I know you always get the dreamers who think we should have a fantasy team out there, but I think 99% of fans are quite realistic. You can't just rely on effort and grit and heart at this level. You've got to have a bit of quality, and defensively, we haven't got any quality in the central areas. We've got a good central defender. The problem is he's having to play left back. I understand what you're saying, mate, of where we are right now. 100% sort of, I understand what you're saying. So I don't disagree with you as such. And I agree that certainly a portion of the Twitter fan base are like completely off their heads with expectations, etc. But I also think fans have got a right to expect something to happen and for us to improve. And my expectation, if we're talking about expectations, is for us to improve the defence in the January transfer window. We know Voba's potentially coming in from Salzburg, but it needs more than that for me. So yeah, we'll see. That was a combination of Cooper and Cock, but yes, I agree. Poor. Yeah, this one. Look, you're always going to get. Look, it's a polarizing topic. Is Jesse, and it's not one I overly like talking about anymore because you just cause disagreements with it, right? But I agree, Jesse needs a bit longer. I do. He was always on the arse end of a hiding, following Bielsa in the door from a portion of the fan base. He was never going to be liked. We could be sat third in the league now, and there'd still be a portion of the fan base calling for him to leave. So it is a vicious circle, mate, and it's something that fans are just never ever going to agree on. I do think some stick he gets is absolutely warranted for decisions made, whether that be tactically or substitutions. I certainly throw those criticisms at him the same way I did Bielsa when he made. And if we all think back, and we tend to look back on previous managers with rose-tinted glasses, right, at times, but some of the in-game decisions that Bielsa used to make used to baffle the life out of most people. Because I remember being sitting here doing streams with people going, "What were those substitutions all about?" So Jesse gets the same criticism. I try and look at everyone on a level playing field, right, and it's only my opinion on what I see, and I don't see that Jesse did much wrong tonight. You could question the substitutions. I don't know if Cooper was blowing or if Jesse was making a bit of a statement at him, whatever it may be. But yeah, tonight you can't compensate for players making mistakes like they did, certainly for the second goal. Yeah, I've raised this before, Nige. I've raised this before, mate. Just again, I'll say it again. Put the Pinot down, Rads. Put the Pinot down, lad. Enough's enough. Christmas is over. Dry January's here. Put the wine away. And this is my point, right, Tommy? Not a fan. I mean, it's your right not to be a fan. It's your opinion not to be a fan. I'm not digging you out over it, mate. I'm on the fence with him. I can see some good in Jesse, and I can see some not so good. I think he probably does know his best team. I think probably he knows his best team, but there's probably a couple of players who aren't at the club at the minute that he needs to have his best team. We've been, there's been illnesses and stuff like that, so you can't judge tonight's selection too much. Let's see what the weekend selection brings. But I mean, like I say, mate, it's your opinion. It's one you're quite entitled to have, isn't it? If you genuinely don't think we need players, Clive, then sorry, mate. Because let's remember, most of these players were there under Bielsa, and in that second season under Bielsa, we were effing dreadful. So, are you saying Bielsa was no good as well? Do you think if we had Pep Guardiola with our squad, we'd be top six? I tell you now, we wouldn't. Not with that defence, we wouldn't. We just wouldn't. I'm not saying we might be slightly better off than we are now, but mate, come on. That for me, Clive, is an awful take, mate. No, I agree, D. I've called for Charlie before, but I do agree. In hindsight, we need some hardened quality, not relied on a kid. At centre back, we've got to put some decent quality in there with some, game experience. Good question, and I don't know, mate. I don't know, and it's not just those two. It's not just those two. I'm just going to keep scrolling because I'm literally going to do a couple more. It's fair. He brings in as much dross as he does good, doesn't he? Probably more dross than he does good. And ever since he's sat the board stuff, I've sort of given up on him. I'm like, you're a bit of a dick, mate. But you know, that's just me. Let me scroll all the way at the bottom, see what you guys are saying just before my God. Fair play to you lot. Like, I am miles behind in these comments. Fair play to you. So sorry I'm not going to get to a lot of them. Are you ever genuinely happy? What you expecting me to be on here dancing on the ceiling because we got beat 3-1. I'm not overly downbeat about it either, but a strange comment. Good chocolate though. Fair play. Yeah, I heard that from Ali, and you can see what he's saying, right? Because there are positives. It's we'll see at the end of the season, won't we? At the end of the day, we'll see. It's just one of those things, isn't it? So yeah. I guess in summary, it's just tough one. Not a tough one tonight, an expected one tonight. We didn't get an absolute slapping on the scoreline, so you know, positives. Willie Gnonto looked decent again, so there's a positive there. We'll get more of a read in the next 2 or 3 games. If we come out of the back of West Ham and we've not had another point, then I'll genuinely be in serious flat mode. And you know, we've not seen any players come in. I won't be a happy chappy then. I'll quite rightfully be genuinely very unhappy then, Toby Larone. So yeah, let's see. But thank you everyone for tuning in. It's much appreciated. I'm going to go to bed now and not be genuinely happy. And we'll see what the next couple of games brings. But thank you for tuning in, everyone. It is much appreciated. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I can't explain how much it does for the channel. It's the way we get this out there. It's the way we get more subscribers, etc. And we get more people in the comments, right? Having these conversations, which is, you know, this is how I like to do things, gang. I like to involve you as much as possible. And we tend to sit in the comments and chat through points rather than me just blarting at you for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, ranting and raving, because I'd probably say something that get me a slap wrist from the club if I did just sit on my own steam. So I appreciate everyone who makes comments, whether I agree with them or not. I appreciate we've all got differences of opinion. That's what makes football great and frustrating in equal measure, right? So thank you, everyone. I'm off to bed. I will see you probably after the Newcastle game. I think I'm around for that one. So yeah, fingers crossed for that one. Thanks, everyone.